This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thanks for getting up with us on this Sunday. I'm Tim Gordon. This morning on Sunrise, frightening moments outside a local high school. A shooting outside the gym during a high school basketball game. Plus, neighbors in Southeast Portland got an unpleasant surprise to start the new year. Someone stole the community mailbox. But first, let's check in with Chris McGinnis for a look at our Sunday forecast. Chris?
Good morning, Tim. A lot like yesterday, our Sunday starting off a little drippy across the area. We've got rain now, light rain for the most part, although as you look here on radar, some of those yellow pockets indicating briefly heavier rain out there right now. And it's widespread. We're all getting a little wet this morning from the coast to the valley through the Columbia River Gorge. Snow levels generally around 3,500 to 4,000 feet today. Bigger perspective over the last 6 hours, one round of rain sweeping through early this morning. And then as you look really closely here, you see that puffy nature of the clouds offshore. Little instability there. It could drive some thunderstorms at the Oregon coast a little bit later on today. So be on the lookout for that. Dark and early out there and a little wet. 48 degrees last check at PDX. The breeze out of the east that'll be with us this morning. It will become southerly later today. It's 45 right now in Westland. Big perspective across the state. Nobody terribly cold this morning. It's 49 actually in Pendleton and far from cold, 34 in Burns. All right, the plan for today, on and off showers and breezy conditions as well. The breeze this morning is out of the east. Later this afternoon, that breeze shifts to the south, and I need to up the temperatures just a little bit, but I don't think we go too much above 50 later today with those on and off rain showers. Tim?
All right, Chris, we'll talk to you again soon. Well, we start this half hour with frightening moments during a high school basketball game. This video shows the chaos as people ran out of the gym at Franklin High School after a shooting outside in the school's parking lot. Now, authorities say a teenager was grazed by a bullet. This happened just after 7:30 last night. A Portland police officer was working security at the PIL showcase and heard the gunfire. He called for assistance and help did arrive quickly. Police found evidence of gunfire and a juvenile with a possible graze wound. The juvenile declined medical attention. Orlando Sanchez was covering the game between Roosevelt and Cleveland and talked with people afterwards.
My brain went into overdrive and I realized what was happening. I just started sprinting, and I've just never been so scared and just...
While people were kept in the gym for a while before being allowed to leave, police arrested a 15-year-old boy on an unrelated warrant. Well, two people have been arrested after crashing a stolen Subaru. Last night, Portland police found both suspects unconscious inside the parked car. When authorities got closer, the driver woke up and took off. During the chase, the driver hit another vehicle on Northeast 89th Avenue at Killingsworth and also crashed into a planter outside a home. No injuries have been reported. The driver and passenger were arrested. Authorities also say the passenger had meth with them. Well, neighbors in Southeast Portland got an unwelcome surprise to start the new year. Someone stole the community mailbox. Now homeowners have to pay to replace it. Art Edwards met with neighbors who are stunned by what happened.
This is video from one of the neighbors' homes in this Southeast Portland neighborhood. It's a cul-de-sac off Mount Scott Road. You can see an SUV drive in at about 6:30 in the morning on January 2nd and stop near the community mailbox. People get out and make off with the box. All that's left now is the post where the box was attached.
We were thinking at first it may have been the postal people because they were so fast. A matter of 2 minutes, they had that off and gone.
It wasn't anyone with the post office. Charles Ford notified both the police and postal inspectors. It's still hard for neighbors to make sense of what's happened.
How and why would somebody lift a whole communal box? There was 12 of us, mail slots along with a parcel box.
Ford doesn't think the box was taken for the mail inside. He believes that it was all about the metal it's made of. Now the people living here have to do a little more work to get their mail.
All 12 of us have to go up and get our mail at the, distribution place.
It's not the way this neighborhood expected they would start the new year.
It's real frustrating. It just feels though that it's sort of the temperature of our society and city. Desperate people do desperate things.
Now, it is frustrating. Well, the neighbors are working on getting a replacement box now. It'll cost about $2,600, and they'll have to share the cost on that. They're also looking at ways to secure that box so it can't be taken again. Well, 3 people were arrested for attempting to flee police late Friday night in North Portland. During the chase, investigators say the suspects drove erratically and went as fast as 100 miles per hour in residential areas. Authorities had to use spike strips to stop them. Detectives say the suspects had 3 loaded guns and a high-capacity magazine. The three suspects ranging from 20 to 22 years old have been booked into the Multnomah County Jail. They're facing multiple charges, including attempting to flee police and unlawful possession of a loaded firearm. No injuries were reported. Well, this week brought some big changes to Portland City Council. Not only are councilors laying the groundwork for a new form of government, but Mayor Ted Wheeler also announced new bureau assignments. KGW's Blair Best explains who's now in charge of some of the city's biggest issues.
The city's new form of government, which voters approved, starts in 2 years. Meanwhile, Mayor Ted Wheeler is changing who's responsible for some of the city's most pressing issues, including homelessness and housing.
The January 4th, 2023 morning session of the Portland City Council.
The first Portland City Council meeting of the year started off on a lighter tone.
Hi.
And a new commissioner behind the desk, Renee Gonzalez, taking the place of Joanne Hardesty.
It is my great pleasure to welcome Renee Gonzalez to the Portland City Council.
Commissioner Dan Ryan stepping into the role of council president for the next 6 months.
And the resolution is adopted. You are now council president. Congratulations.
Under Portland's current form of government, the mayor assigns city bureaus to each commissioner. This year, he's starting a new overhaul process by grouping city bureaus into 5 service areas: administration, community and economic development, public works, public safety, and culture and livability. Mayor Wheeler says this marks an important step toward creating the basis for how the future city administrator will lead in 2025.
Are you signed up?
Mayor Wheeler will now be responsible for the city's role in the Joint Office of Homeless Services. That's the county and city-run program that's under scrutiny for how it's addressing the homeless crisis. Commissioner Dan Ryan will no longer be responsible for housing. That now falls under Commissioner Carmen Rubio.
I feel really grateful that the mayor's entrusted me around doing this really important work during this really critical time.
A lot of people argue that the city needs to change their response to the homeless crisis. What do you think needs to change, and what are your plans moving forward?
Well, I think that we have new leadership everywhere, and there's leadership that has changed at the local, state, and national level. And right now, it's all hands on deck.
Commissioner Dan Ryan is now in charge of culture and livability. What will happen to some of your housing projects that you started, such as those Safe Rest Villages?
I will stay on that assignment in 2023 for Safe Rest Villages. And then I also am very proud of getting some land banking into the budget last year so we can have some pathways to home ownership.
The city's newest commissioner, Renee Gonzalez, will handle public safety, including Portland Fire and Rescue, whose union heavily endorsed him in the election. The city's new form of government again starts in 2 years, but during this time, they must continue to focus on some of those major challenges, like homelessness and public safety. Blair Best, KGW News.
Well, still to come on Sunrise, investments in sustainable farming are making their way to the Pacific Northwest. Washington farmers lay out their priorities for the funding in the fight against climate change.